Good afternoon, everyone. Online, everyone, please confirm if I'm audible. Am I audible? Okay, great. So this is our first session of the Ethics Marks Improvement Program. Today we'll just set the stage of what are the kind of topics that we're going to look at, what is the format in which we're going to study, course को कैसे best utilize करना है, why is there a big variation in the marks of people. For example, if you see, people are scoring in the ranges of 105 to 140 plus. So there are a lot of things that you can do differently in these papers, right? अगर आप बाकी GS papers में देखोगे, the variation of marks is not as big, right? But it is so in GS4. Why is that? Questions बहुत limited है, syllabus बहुत limited है. We'll look at that. But when you sit at the actual paper, बहुत difference create हो जाता है. So there is a lot of scope for creativity in this paper, I'd say, right? One thing that I want to start this course with is that it is very practical. Whatever I'm going to teach you, I have applied it on myself first and on a lot of toppers in the past few years, right? Which is why whatever I tell you is going to be practical. कि आप अगर अभी, for example, if you're even starting ethics right now, आप मेंस में 130 plus score ला सकते हो. And I'll be very honest, I was one of those people who studied ethics for the first time between prelims and mains, right? And even then, I'll show you my mark sheet. I could get 130 as a score in ethics. Why was that? Because I read selectively. I wrote a lot of answers. That is one thing जिसके बिना आप expect नहीं कर सकते कि आप ethics में बहुत अच्छे marks लाओगे. And I'll show you with proof why that is important, right? So whatever I'm going to tell you is going to be very practical. Even the mentorship sessions, the one-to-one sessions that we have, based on the copies that you write, उसमें we will make sure कि जो भी आपको मैं scope for improvement बताऊं, there is a way forward aligned with that, which means that I'll not only tell you what are the drawbacks in your copy, but also how do you make it better? How do you achieve that copy? ठीक है? How many of you have gone through toppers copies of ethics? Almost all of you, right? You must be feeling कि इतना ऑर्गेनाइज मैनर में सारे एग्जाम्पल्स भी आ रहे हैं, इनको सारे लिंकेजेस भी एकदम रेडीली आ जाते हैं, ये तो मतलब दे आर मेड समवेयर एल्स. दैट इज नॉट द केस. इफ यू सी एवरीबडीज फर्स्ट आंसर इन एथिक्स, यू विल फील कि ये टॉपर कैसे बन गया. बट दैट इज द नेचर ऑफ द पेपर. यू स्टार्ट विथ वेरी रफ थॉट्स. ठीक है, आज हम थोड़ी सी ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग भी करेंगे जस्ट टू गिव यू एन आइडिया दैट इट इज फाइन टू स्टार्ट एट दिस स्टेज इवन बिटवीन प्रीलिम्स एंड मेंस. But it is even then possible to score a 130 plus score. ठीक है? Let us start. सबसे पहले, what are the sources that you're going to refer? So whatever you must have seen कि webinar में I've given you that you should be doing current affairs linkage, you should be doing a lot of codes, you should be reading a lot of Sanskrit shlokas. Now you would say कि there are 4 GS, there is optional to read and you have essay to do. अगर आप अभी वैल्यू एडिशन करने बैठोगे एथिक्स का, यू वोंट बी एबल टू डू अदर सब्जेक्ट्स, राइट? इट इज नॉट दैट कि अगले 75 डेज में यू ओनली हैव टू रीड अबाउट एथिक्स, विच इज वाई देर आर 2 सेट्स ऑफ नोट्स दैट वी प्रोवाइड. वन इज योर क्लास हैंडआउट्स. द हैंडआउट्स आर वेरी वेरी ब्रीफ. सारे सिलेबस के जो भी की थीम्स हैं, किस तरीके से उस थीम को यूपीएससी पूछ सकता है, ऑल दैट वी हैव कवर्ड इन द नोट्स इन द मैनर इन विच यू नीड टू राइट एन आंसर. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर मैं कोई भी टॉपिक टच कर रही हूँ, आई वुड फर्स्ट नीड एन इंट्रोडक्शन टू दैट, देन आई वुड राइट आर्ग्यूमेंट्स टू सपोर्ट और अपोज दैट स्टेटमेंट. आई वुड नीड एग्जाम्पल्स. And then I will maybe need a way forward and a conclusion, right? ये base set of notes है. These are also very brief, very crisp. For example, अगर मैं emotional intelligence का topic पढ़ रही हूँ, what all will I need when I'm writing an answer on emotional intelligence? सबसे पहले, what will I do? I went through the PYQs and I figured out दैट यूपीएससी 4-5 तरीके से ये टॉपिक से एक क्वेश्चन पूछता है. वन वुड बी व्हाट इज द पॉजिटिव रोल ऑफ इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस फॉर एन इंडिविजुअल. दूसरा हो गया कि एक पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर की लाइफ में इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस का क्या रोल है गिवन द स्कैरसिटी ऑफ रिसोर्सेज, गिवन द इश्यूज दैट ही हैज टू फेस ऑन अ डेली बेसिस. ठीक है. तीसरा क्वेश्चन क्या पूछा जाता है, इज IQ मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट और EQ मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट, राइट? Will you be able to solve all your problems using your mind alone, or do you need to manage your emotions as well? I think you've gone through this situation very recently, the prelims that was held. ठीक है, तो वहाँ पे you just saw the paper और mind तो give up करके चला गया कि भाई मेरे से नहीं होगा. तो that is where your EQ comes in कि हो जाएगा all is well, right? That is the another frontier जहाँ पे हम इसको पढ़ते हैं. Next is your what is the side effect or the critical perspective on emotional intelligence. इसमें क्या पूछेंगे, that say for example I am a good communicator, right? I can influence your emotions. मैं आपको कभी भी चाहे motivate भी कर सकती हूँ and I can demotivate you also. I can push you towards something positive, I can push you towards something negative as well. Will I always use this value ethically or not? Emotional intelligence, very common example is of Hitler, right? He was a very effective communicator. Speech suno, you will be motivated to do something nasty, right? But did he use it in the most ethical sense, the values that he had, using the control that he had over people? No. Okay? That is one perspective that I'll set over it. And then a way forward and a conclusion. तो ये जो टेम्पलेट है इसी को फॉलो करके वी हैव प्रिपेयर्ड ऑल द नोट्स. जो भी वैल्यू एडिशन की रिक्वायरमेंट है वी हैव डन दैट. वॉट एवर करंट अफेयर्स वर देयर अंटिल द लास्ट 2-3 months आर देयर इन योर नोट्स. इसके बियॉन्ड देयर इज सेकेंड सेट ऑफ नोट्स. अच्छा, वन मोर थिंग दैट आई वांट टू टेल विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू द क्लास हैंडआउट्स. हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू हैव डन एथिक्स बिफोर दिस? मेनी ऑफ यू, विच मीन्स कि आपके पास अपने नोट्स हैं एथिक्स के, राइट? All of you have done answer writing as well. Some of you must have. I would suggest you कि उसको ही base note बना के चलो. Why? Because if you switch to a new set of notes right now, you will find it very difficult to remember and memorize those notes, right? Which is why एक base notes होगा. उसके beyond you can pick up from these notes whatever theme or subparts have you missed in your original notes. For example, okay, then you can use these base notes. अगर नहीं है तो then all the very better, मतलब आपने मेहनत भी नहीं की and you're getting everything in a aligned manner. If you do not have them, यहाँ से आपको value addition करते जाना है. Pick up the examples जो class में whatever I'm teaching you, just keep scribbling in your notes. Then there is a second set of notes, the value added notes. These are basically notes that a topper or somebody who is going to write mains in the next 2 months वो prepare करते हैं, just that they have the examples ready, they have the quotes ready, they have the shlokas ready, they have whatever linkages they want. For example, अगर मैं कोई theory पढ़ रही हूँ उसका contemporary relevance क्या है वो मैं यहाँ पे बना के लिखूंगी. जो भी एकदम recent examples है, for example, we are seeing NEET PG में जो issue हुआ है, again CUET also conducted some blunders. These examples would be very fresh in the mind of an examiner at that time. ठीक है, जो आप तब पढ़ोगे उस टाइम पे probably हो सकता है you will not be able to add these value addition notes on your own, right? So for that purpose I am doing that thing for you कि सारे topic wise you have your notes ready, you just have to memorize them and try to align them with the points that you're writing in your copy. These notes are mandatorily to be used by everyone, right? I'll show you the notes in some time. These are the sources. तो सबसे पहले we are clear there are 2 sets of notes. If you have the base notes, आप उसमें से बस जो भी dimensions आपके points में missing है, आपके अपने notes में missing है, just add on from those. बाकी whatever base material you have, refer that. Do not change your material at all right now. Value addition notes is something you will be requiring to get an edge over others. तो उसको आप use कर सकते हो, right? Now, paper breakdown, I know you all know this, but listen to me. सबसे पहले ethics में there are 2 sections that come. Section A or the first section and section B. That is the second section. Section A में we get 13 10 markers. Right? And section B में you get 6 case studies. Now, these 10 markers, 60-70% of your score, आप कितनी edge ले पाओगे ethics में will be decided from here. I've seen people get booklets all together and try to solve 150 case studies between prelims and mains. वो नहीं करना है. I'll tell you why. यहाँ पे if you see जो section A है, उसमें you get this very detailed syllabus. जैसे मैंने बोला, इसमें आपको जो भी वैल्यू एडिशन, जो भी थॉट प्रोसेस, जो भी इंटरलिंकेजेस करके जाना है, दिस यू वुड बी डूइंग सिटिंग आउटसाइड द पेपर. इस पे आप बहुत सारे PYQ आंसर राइटिंग करने वाले हो इस कोर्स पे, विच इज वाई वहां पे डिफरेंशिएट करना बहुत ईजी हो जाता है. राइट? फॉर एग्जाम्पल अ कोड बेस्ड क्वेश्चन, इट इज नथिंग बट अ मिनी एसे. राइट? अब इमेजिन करो एक ऐसे दूसरे ऐसे से कितना बेटर और कितना अलग हो सकता है. That is what I mean to say when I say this. Secondly, the topics are going to remain like this. First topic, ethics and human interface. Now, at best, अगर ये कोई code based question बना रहे हैं यहाँ से, तो they will prepare role of family, role of society, role of educational institutions. If you remember Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam का quote, that for a country to be corruption free, there are 3 sets of people that are very important: father, mother, and teacher. This is all they made. Now you will always have content prepared on father, mother and teacher. Just that आपको align करके उस कोड के हिसाब से अच्छे से लिखना है. Are you getting my point? For example, if they give you a question related to attitude, right? A code-based question on attitude came that a person can alter his life by altering his attitudes. Now you will always be prepared for this. ठीक है? ये कोई bouncers नहीं होने वाले हैं. ठीक है? You will always be prepared for the content that you have to put in these. Just that question देख के आपको थोड़ा सा उसको align करना पड़ेगा. Right? Similarly, for example, these values that I mentioned, laws, rules and regulations, conscience से related काफी सारे questions आते हैं. You get questions related to these values that are there: integrity, impartiality, non-partisanship, objectivity, dedication to public service, empathy. अब इन क्वेश्चंस को अगर आपने एक बार वैल्यूज को समझ लिया, अगर आपने उसके इम्प्लीकेशंस, पॉजिटिव नेगेटिव्स को समझ लिया, कितना ही फार चला जाएगा कोई एथिक्स का क्वेश्चन. इट इज नॉट अ फैक्चुअल पेपर एट ऑल. राइट? एक बार आपने इंटरलिंकेजेस ड्रॉ करना सीख लिए, इट इज वेरी इजी टू डिफरेंशिएट. जस्ट दैट आपको वो लेवल्स ऑफ डिफरेंशिएशन क्रिएट करना आना चाहिए. एंड आई विल गिव यू एन आइडिया अबाउट दैट टुडे एज वेल. नाउ कमिंग टू व्हाई केस स्टडीज आई बिलीव आर नॉट एज स्कोरिंग. सी, जब आप पेपर ब्रेक डाउन करते हो, यू हैव 6 केस स्टडीज. थीम्स क्या क्या होती हैं केस स्टडीज की? रफली करप्शन रिलेटेड, ब्राइबरी रिलेटेड, डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट रिलेटेड. राइट? यू विल गेट समथिंग रिलेटेड टू अगर कोई बॉर्डर इशू है, कोई इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी इशू है, वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस है, हरासमेंट एट वर्क प्लेस है. दीज थीम्स आर देयर. But the kind of questions that are aligned with your case study are very rigid, in the sense that सबसे पहले आपको पूछेंगे what are the ethical issues and dilemmas in this case study. Now I am not saying कि वहाँ पे हम differentiate नहीं करेंगे. Maybe you can link it with some theory. Maybe you can give a case study, a real life case study within that case study. ठीक है? But आपको एक set structure है जिसमें एक case study लिखनी होती है. So first is your ethical issues and dilemmas that you have to write. Second is your, say, options available. Now यहाँ पर we will creatively differentiate from others in analyzing our options. ठीक है? जब हम pros बता रहे हैं तब हम थोड़े से we will not only tell facts from the case कि अगर if I indulge in corruption my family would have a secure future. That is a fact from a case. पैसेज नहीं लिखना होता है केस स्टडीज में. यू हैव टू गो बियॉन्ड द क्वेश्चन. उसके इम्प्लीकेशंस क्या होंगे, उससे थ्योरीज कौन सी आप वायलेट कर रहे हो, उससे वैल्यूज कौन सी आप वायलेट कर रहे हो, दैट वी विल बी डूइंग एज वेल. बट अंडरस्टैंड दैट whatever you're exploring will be very limited, right? Then comes your, for example, course of action. Course of action, which option would you go for and why? And lastly, they ask you what are the steps available. अब ये steps that you can take, for example, for against sexual harassment या dowry से related let us say कुछ expect कर सकते हैं हम इस पर. Now there is a set answer to that कि steps क्या क्या ले सकते हैं, what are the schemes available, what is the government done already, what are the community level steps that we can do, what are the short term measures, what are the long term measures. But there is a foundation that you have. इन्हीं 4 questions के अंदर आपको limitations में लिखना होता है, which is why the more time you to spend dedicated to the section A, part A, the better your score will get. There are people who start with case studies and by the time, abhi what the UPSC did last year was कि they gave extra page to case studies and people spend good amount of time doing that. कि एग्जामिनर को लगना नहीं चाहिए कि मैंने कुछ स्पेस कम यूज किया है, so I'll use that last page also at the cost of what 5-10 markers. Literally, do you think that you stand a chance then in scoring something above 105? No, right? So that is my point कि जब हम पढ़ेंगे your focus should be on primarily getting your 10 markers sorted. Syllabus को बहुत अच्छे से करना है. Case studies is nothing but an application part of your previous questions. Case studies on the above issues. What is the examiner trying to ask you कि ऊपर जो आपने सीखा है उसी को apply करके दिखाना है. Because ultimately, like we discussed in the webinar, those of you watched, that the UPSC wants to check your attitude and your personality and your problem solving skills. आपकी problem solving skills best पता चलेगी case study से. But here also you have to realize कि in theory everyone can take the right option. तो यहाँ पे आपको कोई बहुत edge नहीं है, right? If I ask you, should you indulge in corruption or not? Should you take bribery or not? What will all your answers be? No, right? तो थोड़ा सा आप डिफरेंशिएट कर दोगे, मिर्च मसाला लगा के हम बता देंगे कि कोई एक थिंकर ये डाल के हम बता सकते हैं, बट बियॉन्ड दैट ऑल ऑफ यू वुड से द सेम थिंग. थोड़ा सा ऑर्नामेंटल चेंजेस और हम करते हैं केस स्टडीज में. फॉर एग्जाम्पल वी गिव सम प्रेजेंटेशन डिफरेंस कि एक में ऑप्शंस हमने अच्छे से प्रेजेंट कर दिए, एक में वी रोट सम स्टेक होल्डर्स. All those things we would discuss when it comes to the case studies. But before that, I want you to set your priorities straight right now. Even in attempting the paper, even when we are writing, case studies पे बहुत ज़्यादा emphasis नहीं होना चाहिए. There are some 10 types of case studies and the content around that we will study in detail. There are 6 case studies के लिए dedicated classes that you have. But other than that, all the focus should be on bettering your part A. अगर आपने पार्ट ए में इंटरलिंकेज सीख लिया, देयर इज नो डाउट अबाउट इट दैट यू विल नॉट स्टैंड आउट इन योर केस स्टडीज. ठीक है? नाउ लाइक आई सेड कि जो वेरिएशन ऑफ मार्क्स है इन योर पेपर दैट इज वेरी ब्रॉड. वो जो रेंज ऑफ मार्क्स है बिटवीन समवन हु इज स्कोरिंग 95 and someone who is scoring 140, ask somebody giving an interview, they would kill for those marks. जो 40-45 marks है और सिर्फ 6 or 7 topics that you have to read, something that is not even factual, वो पढ़ के अगर आपको इतनी there is that much difference that you can create in your answers, I would say this is the best low hanging fruit that UPSC has given you. Right? Now I want to tell you कि कैसे difference create होता है in an ethics answer. Right? Firstly, it is not same as GS 1 to 3. एक fixed answer नहीं होता है. You can mold the question in whichever way you want. आप अपनी interpretation लिख सकते हो question की, provided वो एकदम ही गलत नहीं होनी चाहिए कि अगर topic का underlying value है attitude, you are giving something related to role of family. You should not be that vague about it, right? And I'll make sure that you are not that off about the question. Secondly, there is no best answer. I remember people who scored the best marks in ethics. आप किसी से भी पूछ लेना, any topper will tell you that they wrote ethics till the very last. हर ethics का test, every test that you write, one after the other, is 10%, 5% better than what you wrote previously. आपके खुद के thoughts और crystallize होते जाते हैं, right? The argument that you were spending some 4 lines to explain earlier, आप खुद realize करते हो कि ये same चीज तो मैं 5 words में बता सकता हूँ. And that is where your edge begins in ethics, right? वो जो स्पेस है, उस स्पेस में आप एक और आर्ग्यूमेंट ऐड कर सकते हो, आप एक और पर्सपेक्टिव ऐड कर सकते हो, राइट? दैट इज वेयर थिंग्स स्टार्ट टू गेट बेटर. आप और इंटरलिंकेजेस ड्रॉ करना स्टार्ट कर दोगे. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आई वॉन्ट यू टू टेक 2 minutes टू solve this question. एक रफ स्ट्रक्चर बनाना, the question that I'm going to give on screen, and we'll discuss it then. Judge your success by what you had to give up in order to get it. You have 2 minutes, just brainstorm and write the brief points that you would write about it. Take 3 minutes. Done?
Yes.
Okay, I hope you've done the basic brainstorming, right? Okay, now tell me, judge your success by what you had to give up in order to get it. What are the arguments that you gave to this question?
In introduction, I have written success is a subjective term and its meaning varies from person to person, but still it can be judged based on your efforts. Then make one flowchart. Efforts required to get success. In that one, time, money, physical and emotional health, social connection, family intimacy.
Okay, let other people participate. Got your understanding? Yes. Give me one point of what you wrote in what is means versus ends. So what should you give up, means or ends?
Means has to be pure. Process has to be.
Very good. What else?
Choosing best path at right time.
Okay, so let us say time plus efficiency. What else?
Successful are those who are willing to sacrifice continuously.
Now see, sacrifice is also a very general term. We'll discuss. Anything else? Anyone?
Sacrifice is about the journey, not the destination.
I actually made a diverse definition of success, like material success and spiritual success. So in order to get some material success, you have to have like comfort and all the thing. And to sorry, in order to get material success, you have to have like maybe you compromise with health and all. And in you what you get is like comfort and money.
Okay.
And if there is spiritual,
See, everyone has attempted this question with some kind of same kind of thoughts. Judge your success by what you had to give up in order to get it. Roughly आपने यही सब चीजें बोली है that basically there are some things that are worth giving up success, like for success. For example, your comforts. ठीक है, अगर आप comforts नहीं give up करोगे, you will not be able to achieve success. So comfort is one thing that is worth giving up, right? Are your values worth giving up in order to succeed in life? No. So can we create here a basic yardstick to measure success? And in the arguments, we can build a positive and a negative subpart. For example, something that is not worth giving up is your values, is your conscience. What else? What is worth giving up? Your comfort. Are your relationships worth giving up? Your familial ties, your friendships? No. Character. Right? What is worth giving up? Comfort. What else? Instant gratification. कि अगर मैं आज कुछ एफर्ट डाल रहा हूं तो कल मुझे उसका रिजल्ट मिल जाए. Let us say material pleasures as a part of comfort only. ठीक है? Now, this is what everybody will be able to do. ठीक है? Roughly आप थोड़ी सी स्ट्रक्चरिंग अगर अपने आंसर में करते, all of you could think about this at least. ठीक है, लिखा आपने अभी कैसे भी हो, roughly you had the same kind of idea कि देखो सक्सेस के लिए there are some things that you can give up, worth giving up, some things that are not worth giving up. What is worth giving up? We already discussed. Not worth giving up, your values, conscience, relationships, character. Only one person had a little bit of edge, the means over ends. That, are you following the purity of means, like Gandhi said? What is deontological ethics? What is deontological ethics?
Focusing on duties rather than outcomes.
Focusing on duties. What did Kant say? Focusing on purity of means. Means matter over ends. ठीक है, अगर आपके means सही नहीं है to get to an end, that success does not mean anything. तो इसके ऊपर एक और layer of thought develop होती है आपकी, which is your interlinkages. That first, Gandhi spoke of purity of means. What else? अगर आप कैरेक्टर की बात कर रहे हो, अगर आप वैल्यूज की बात कर रहे हो, you should also be able to link it with virtue ethics. What does virtue ethics say? Anyone? Character is the highest virtue. मतलब instead of focusing on means or ends, you should focus on developing a character. Gandhi, for example, in the Chauri Chaura incident, he called off the movement after this incident. Why? Because he was a man of values like non-violence, of purity of means. He said, I do not want an end that does not follow purity of means. And that is your third layer of examples. ठीक है, तो a good answer, basic content ethics में अभी भी आप बिना पढ़े whatever you wrote, you will be able to give a basic answer to each question. The problem is that वहां से हमारी struggle सबकी start होती है. How much interlinkage are you able to draw? How many examples are you able to give to that question? Right? अब यहाँ पे यू प्रिपेयर वैल्यूज के अकॉर्डिंग पॉजिटिव एंड नेगेटिव एग्जाम्पल्स, जो भी हमने सिलेबस में वैल्यूज देखी, राइट. यू मस्ट हैव सम नेगेटिव एग्जाम्पल्स. पूजा सिंगल, पूजा खेड़कर, सॉरी, पूजा खेड़कर, right? Wrong means to achieve the right ends. What did Gandhi say? What is one of the Gandhian sins? Character without?
Wealth. Wealth without character.
Wealth without work. Character without? Something. Chalo. So basically, this is what I mean when I say this, that you have to have layered understanding of the question. तभी जाके आप understanding एक build कर पाओगे. ठीक है? अब here you could have also linked it with Gandhian 7 sins. To achieve success, you must be having all these things. Do not violate these things. Wealth without work to achieve success is wrong. तो ये interlinkages we feel कि हम जब आंसर लिखने बैठेंगे, we are some big thinkers, कि हम क्वेश्चन देखेंगे और एकदम we will give that this is what this person has said. Interlinkage draw करके मैं एक स्टेटमेंट लिख दूंगा. एक्चुअल में जो आंसर निकलता है वो होता है वैल्यूज, कैरेक्टर, कॉन्शियंस, लाइक दैट. एवरीबॉडी इज डूइंग दैट मच. व्हाट आर यू डूइंग बियॉन्ड दैट क्वेश्चन? वी आर सेइंग द सेम थिंग, बट वी आर सेइंग द सेम थिंग विथ सम क्रेडिबल बैकिंग टू आवर थॉट्स, राइट. एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक है कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ मॉरल थिंकर्स एंड फिलोसोफर्स. वील कम टू दैट टॉपिक. व्हाट डू पीपल डू? इवन इफ वी रीडिंग इन क्लास, आप पढ़ोगे तो सही. अगर मैं रॉल्स पढ़ा रही हूँ, if I ask you the concept, I asked you virtue ethics, all of you knew. कितने लोग यूज कर पाते हैं इसको आंसर में? That is the problem. वो जो contribution of moral thinkers and philosophers दिया है, वो हमारी प्रॉब्लम है कि ये इंटरलिंकेजेस हैं जो हम ड्रॉ नहीं कर पा रहे हैं अपने आंसर्स में. That is what we would focus on, right? So this is one question that I wanted to take up to tell you कि बहुत ज्यादा मार्क्स में गैप ऐसे बिल्ड होता है. एक आंसर होता है कि यू नो कि ठीक है, सक्सेस के लिए क्या गिव अप नहीं करना चाहिए और क्या गिव अप करना बनता है. बट बियॉन्ड दैट, व्हाट आर द इंटरलिंकेजेस दैट यू आर ड्राइंग? व्हाट इज द थियोरेटिकल पर्सपेक्टिव? आप जो आर्ग्यूमेंट दे रहे हो, आप तो कोई फिलोसोफर नहीं हो अभी, मॉरल थिंकर भी नहीं हो. इवन दो आई वुड सजेस्ट यू दैट इज अ करियर वेरी स्ट्रांगली, वन ऑफ द बेस्ट करियर्स इन इंडिया राइट नाउ, ऑफ बिकमिंग सम सेंट और साधु. बट येस, राइट नाउ you are not, and hopefully you don't choose that direction going forward as well. So right now we have to follow the thoughts of somebody who is in that line. ठीक है, प्लेटो के थॉट्स हो गए, all of these thinkers that we read, हमें एक contemporary relevance उसका पढ़ के चलना चाहिए, so that we are able to apply those in the ideas that we write. Got it? Now, this question, Karl von Clausewitz once said, war is diplomacy by other means. Don't worry, I will not make you write this question. Critically analyze the above statement in the present context of contemporary geopolitical conflict. Give me one argument of what is your understanding of war is diplomacy by other means. ऐसा क्यों बोला है? Anybody with PSI or optional at least? Okay. चलो, tell me. Everyone try to attempt this. War is diplomacy by other means. What do I mean when I say that?
Soft power.
Eventually, the diplomacy.
Soft power. How?
Hybridization is increasing, homogenization is increasing.
No, you're very off. Just let us ठीक है, चलो brainstorm करते हैं. Yes.
Diplomacy is all about the national interest. So how you will serve your national interest by the coercive means is the war.
Okay, but okay, so to serve your national interest, you are saying कि अगर बाकी ways नहीं काम कर रहे हैं, तो you will go for war. But you're just reinterpreting the question.
I will think and I will bring out the.
चलो ठीक है. What else? Who else? Any other ideas? Any other thoughts? क्यों बोला ऐसा? नहीं समझ आया ना? डिस्कस करते हैं अभी. What else? War is diplomacy by other means. डिप्लोमेसी के सबसे पहला मीन्स क्या होता है? व्हाट आर द प्राइमरी मीन्स ऑफ डिप्लोमेसी? डिस्कसिंग, टॉकिंग ओवर द टेबल. इफ नॉट, आप क्या करते हो? टीयर टू डिप्लोमेसी, यू ट्राई टू ब्रिंग इन पीपल. आप सब कुछ ट्राई करते हो. विद पाकिस्तान फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आवर बेस्ट फ्रेंड, व्हाट डू वी डू? फर्स्टली वी स्टार्ट विथ, बहुत पहले करके छोड़ चुके हैं हम, टॉकिंग ओवर द टेबल. That did not work. What did we resort to next? Talking about it at the high tables, for example, UN pay talking about Pakistan sponsored terrorism against India, bleeding India by 1,000 cuts, and all these things. Uske beyond, is there any other means left for us to try and teach Pakistan that this is not how you conduct yourself in IR? No. This person is saying कि जब सारे means खत्म हो जाए, जब आपने people to people ties try कर लिए, you tried bringing UN into the picture, you tried every kind of diplomacy, persuasion, trade cut off कर दी, सब कुछ try कर लिया, अगर कुछ नहीं बचता है उसके बाद भी, then what you go for is a war. Very good. Now you knew about this all along, but there was no linkage in your mind that got drawn. For those who do not know just war theory, I just want to give you an introduction to this theory right now, so that आपको समझ में आए कि हम ये जो पढ़ते हैं उसको अप्लाई करना कितना इम्पोर्टेंट है. जस्ट वॉर थ्योरी में दो तरीके के प्रिंसिपल्स हैं. वन इज व्हेन यू आर वांटिंग टू गो टू वॉर, किसी कंट्री के साथ वॉर में जाने के पहले क्या प्रिंसिपल्स आपको फॉलो करने चाहिए, एंड वंस यू आर इन अ वॉर व्हाट आर द प्रिंसिपल्स दैट यू शुड फॉलो. ठीक है. वन ऑफ दोज प्रिंसिपल्स इज दैट, फॉर एग्जाम्पल कि कोई लेजिटिमेट अथॉरिटी होनी चाहिए जो वॉर डिक्लेयर करे. द लास्ट प्रिंसिपल ऑफ बिफोर गोइंग टू वॉर इज योर लास्ट रिजॉर्ट. कि जब सारे चैनल्स ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन बंद हो जाते हैं, the last resort of that should be your war. This is what the question was talking about. अब you can always and you will always, अगर आपने question देख लिया, आप लिखोगे तो सही कुछ ना कुछ, right? But when you're reading this just war theory even, and you knew this from before, right? Why were you still not able to get to this? Because you've not drawn interlinkages in the classes that we're doing, right? Had you started this question with war as the last resort when all other channels of diplomacy fail as one of the principles of just war theory, and I am not making this theory up. See the PYQs, they've asked this again and again. IR and ethics is a very prominent theme that is being asked by UPSC right now. ठीक है. So for this it is very important that you not only know this but you also apply this. ठीक है. Now second thing that they're asking you is in the context of contemporary conflict. अब मुझे बताओ, you are writing as a student of ethics here. Should you be seconding this thing, war as a means of diplomacy? Should you be seconding this thing? Does war ever have winners? No, right? Arguments तो आप दे दोगे कि geopolitical conflicts, for example, Russia. Last resort क्या था? Invasion of Ukraine. That is what it did. But has it ever been a win for any of the sides? अब इसके आपको ethical implications judge करने हैं. The moral responsibility of a country wanting to go to war, वो कौन बताएगा? Force को इतना casually use करना, is it okay? To say कि अगर बाकी सारे mediums fail हो जाएं तो then you can use force. Are you getting my idea? Getting my point? That here you have to analyze war but from an ethical perspective. So there is some philosophical understanding, theoretical understanding even in this question of ethics in IR. Definitely. Mythology से हम examples उठाएंगे जो current geopolitical conflicts of the world हैं. We'll pick examples from that as well, right? But I'm just saying that unless you do not hit the nail, you won't be able to get the score that the toppers are getting. और वो ऐसे नहीं आता है, वो interlinkages draw करके ही आता है. So do not read whatever I teach as a passive subject. Everything that we read, उसके साथ में हमें contemporary relationship draw करके पढ़ेंगे, so that whenever an applied ethics का question comes, which it does every year, there is a question on what is the ongoing conflict और उसके implications क्या है ethics पे. Roughly this is the question. They can mold it into different words. So this you need to be prepared for कि अगर कोई भी war चल रही है, you should be able to analyze it on what basis. the just war principles. ठीक है? Is the war just? Is it being, driven by legitimate authority? Right? Is it proportional to the damage? For example, Operation Sindoor. India could have inflicted whatever amount of damage it wanted. We had a great edge, but we did not. Why? Proportionality. We will use only the amount of force that is required to achieve the aim. We've never tried to inflict any civilian damage. Right? Why is that? तो ये सब चीजों को आपको एनालाइज करना आना चाहिए, एंड दिस इज नथिंग बियॉन्ड द सिलेबस. वी आर जस्ट नॉट रीडिंग थ्रू इट नाइसली. राइट? Now, like I said, interlinkages from thinkers and philosophers. This is the charm of this paper. आप जो arguments देते हो, you should be able to substantiate with the key thinkers and philosophers. अब हम बहुत सारे thinkers and philosophers पढ़ेंगे. For example, we will read Plato, we'll read Aristotle, we'll read Socrates, we'll read Rawls. In the Indian thought, we read Swami Vivekananda, Gandhi, and so on and so forth. Too many ideas that we'll be reading. But to every thought, there has to be some practical implication aligned. What is the practical implication of what he is wanting to say? एक question आता है इस topic से directly. What are the ideas of, say, for example, Guru Nanak, and what is their contemporary relevance? उस एक thought के लिए आप थोड़ी पढ़ रहे हो इतना सब कुछ. This is the core essence of everything that you're reading in ethics. Right? I'll show you the notes towards the end as well. For example, see this question once. Why should impartiality and non-partisanship be considered as foundational values in public services, especially in the present scenario, socio-political context? ठीक है? I see this question. मैंने एक basic definition लिख दी of impartiality, of non-partisanship, and why are those important values, everything like that. अब यहाँ पे मुझे एज लेने के लिए आई शुड बी अवेयर ऑफ हु टॉक्स अबाउट इम्पार्शलिटी एंड इन व्हाट सेंस. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, यू मस्ट हैव रेड अबाउट रॉल्स. जिनको नहीं पता है, आई एम गिविंग यू अ बेसिक आइडिया. रॉल्स वांटेड टू बिल्ड अ थ्योरी ऑफ जस्टिस. रॉल्स सेड कि अगर हमें एक फेयर थ्योरी ऑफ जस्टिस डेवलप करनी है, फॉर दैट वी नीड दैट नोबडी शुड बी अवेयर ऑफ देयर ओन पोजीशन इन द सोसाइटी, जिसको उन्होंने व्हील ऑफ इग्नोरेंस बोला. इफ आई वर टू एक्सप्लेन दिस टू यू सिंपली, सपोज यूर एट अ बर्थडे पार्टी, राइट, एंड यू आर इन चार्ज ऑफ कटिंग एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटिंग द केक. यू विल इंश्योर कि सबसे बड़ा पीस किसको मिले. आई गेट इट. बट इफ आई वॉन्ट टू इंश्योर कि जो केक कट कर रहा है वो पार्शियल ना हो, वो बायस ना हो, फॉर दैट व्हाट डू आई डू? आई टेल हिम कि तुम केक कट करो, बट जो लास्ट में पीस बचेगा यू विल गेट दैट पीस. अब कट करो. हाउ डू यू थिंक विल ही डिस्ट्रीब्यूट दैट केक, और हाउ डू यू थिंक विल ही कट द केक? स्मॉलर पीसेस, इक्वल पीसेस. वाई? बिकॉज ही नोज कि अगर मैं लीस्ट एडवांटेज्ड हूं, अगर मुझे लास्ट में मिल रहा है तब भी मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम ना हो, इवन देन आई गेट एन इक्वल अमाउंट ऑफ केक. दिस इज व्हाट ही मेंट बाय व्हील ऑफ इग्नोरेंस. अगर कोई भी पॉलिसी बन रही है, कोई भी स्कीम बन रही है, उसका पर्सपेक्टिव क्या होना चाहिए? उसका जो अंडरलाइंग वैल्यू है दैट शुड बी इम्पार्शियलिटी. मनरेगा, everybody who is underprivileged, is unemployed, should get 100 days of guaranteed work. PM Kisan, every scheme, behind every scheme, every policy that we have, impartiality should be the underlying principle, or else there will be problems like the problems in CAA. Are you getting my point? तो ये wheel of ignorance पता किस किस को था? All of you must have known, all of you knew what is wheel of ignorance, but you did not understand how to apply it to questions like this. Open the 2025 paper and you will find UPSC has asked 4 lines से civil servant related questions. If you see the marks of toppers as well, this year काफी dip हुआ है score. क्यों हुआ है? 4 civil servant questions लिख लिए. Whatever we had remembered on those questions, we just simply wrote that. Each question was different from one another. You just needed a different perspective on each of these questions. ठीक है? So this is what I mean when I say कि इतने simple questions, maybe I've read the question now, कि क्यों impartiality should be a foundational value, especially in the present socio-political context. What is the socio-political context of India? How is the Indian society divided? There is inequality, haves and have-nots. They are divided on the basis of class, caste, religion. सब कुछ है, minorities है, majority है. In that, is this not the foundational theory that should drive every decision the government makes? Are you getting an idea? पढ़ा हमने सब कुछ है. इसीलिए the purpose of this crash course is not to teach you things from scratch. It is to teach you how to apply these things into what you're writing. Right? Let us do one more. We wanted to do Kautilya after this. Just a second. Now Kautilya is also given Arthashastra, which is a treatise on statecraft. अब उन्होंने कुछ बेसिक बातें बताई हैं. Don't write, I'll be teaching this in class, don't worry. This is not class 1, this is just orientation, don't get worried. I see a lot of people writing, which is why. Chalo. So Kautilya had given the principle of Yogshema. मतलब welfare of the people is the first priority of the king. ठीक है, is the primary priority of the king. Second, he said on corruption, he said कि एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में करप्शन ऐसे रन करता है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल लाइक अ फिश इन वाटर. You cannot tell how much water a fish in water is consuming. You cannot tell because a fish is always in water. Meaning being, a public servant is always around so many resources at his own disposal, at his own discretion. You never know when he's misusing those. Right? Another concept. He gave the concept of Rajarshi, which is nothing but very similar to sort of copy paste of Plato's idea of philosopher king. मतलब कि जो king है, he should also have sage like qualities. एक साधु जैसी qualities होनी चाहिए उसमें. This is what he had said. ठीक है? King, Raja plus Rishi. What is sage? What qualities does a sage have? Wisdom, truthfulness, integrity, not being driven by material pleasures, right? अब मैंने ये concepts तो पढ़ लिए, पर मैंने ये नहीं पढ़ा कि इसको apply कहाँ करना है, कैसे करना है. So when Yogshema is basically the primary responsibility of a king is welfare of its own people. ठीक है? Now, the moment I get this question, one who is devoted to one's duty attains the highest perfection in life. I start writing. जैसे ही मुझे दिखा devoted to duty, अच्छा syllabus में devotion to duty एक keyword तो था. The above quote gives the importance of devotion to duty in achieving true happiness. Introduction is done. Formality करके नहीं आना है पेपर में. You have to go beyond what is being asked of you. यहाँ पे अगर मैं बताऊं, one who is devoted to own one's duty attains the highest perfection in life. Devoted to duty, somebody who cares about the welfare of the people, Yogshema. What is the primary duty of a civil servant? Serve the people, welfare of people. That is what Kautilya has said by Yogshema. To do that in the truest sense, he should be devoid of the material pleasures. Rajarshi, concept of a king who is also having the qualities of a sage or a saint. Similar idea was that of Plato, philosopher king. क्या आइडिया था कि somebody who is driven by wisdom, उसको रूल करना ही नहीं है. He knows that power is a very dirty thing. You get into politics, you do not lead a peaceful life. So he would not want to get into power for his own material benefits. But he is doing so क्योंकि वो लोगों का सोच के कर रहा है. Are you getting my point? This is the basic idea. Let me show you the notes now once of how we have designed them.
Here, there is students you have on your.
Yes, that also you can use.
श्लोक भी तो लिख सकते हैं, कर्मण जो आते हैं.
Nice, good. What else? I is not opening.
Ma'am, we can write the example of that civil servant in Manipur who has built the road, Armstrong.
Definitely, we'll give a lot of examples. मतलब देखो, Armstrong Palmer also is very. How many of you know about that example? How many of you will be writing that example? That is what you exactly don't have to do. Because सबको दो ही examples याद है, और वही दो examples अगर सब लोग लिखेंगे तो value addition किसका होगा? Getting my point? If all of us know the same thing, this is where your creativity begins. ये तो दो चीजें हैं जो मैंने आपको बताई है. इसके beyond you can go, right? That is what we are trying to break the monotony of this paper. Now imagine अगर कोई examiner है, he is writing the same kind of things one after the other. मैंने आर्मस्ट्रॉन्ग पामे सर का एग्जाम्पल दिया, अशोक खेमका सर का एग्जाम्पल दिया, ये सब सारे जो मेन स्ट्रीम एग्जाम्पल्स थे, प्रशांत नायस, कंपैशनेट, कोई कोडे. हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू हैव हर्ड ऑफ दीज एग्जाम्पल्स? ऑलमोस्ट ऑल ऑफ यू. एथिक्स के बाद जो अगला वर्ड आप सुनते हो वो होता है अशोक खेमका सर का. वेरी गुड, बट आई वुड से कि एग्जामिनर के पर्सपेक्टिव से सोचो, वो सुबह से सेम चीज देखे जा रहा है. He finds a newer example, he finds a newer perspective, and he'll be like, yes, this person has some original thought. That is where we differentiate. Okay? Now, the purpose of showing you these notes here is just this. Let me get to the part where we have there's a role of family hai, so we've given you some examples. Sudha Murthy's example, Mahavir Phogat's example, Barack Obama's example. Role of schools, maybe we've touched upon a lot of value addition. So my basic point is that even if your basics are clear, यहाँ से आप value addition वाला element उठाओ, यहाँ से आप interlinkages उठाओ. Not getting the point where I've mentioned the philosophers and other things. I'll just try to show you here itself. Chalo. For example, this pragmatic view of corruption. Mat nyay. Rule of anybody who is powerful. Then ideal leadership, the concept of Rajarshi. Itna nahi padna hai. We have to go beyond and read what is the relevance of this thought. Right? For example, action of Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy, who resigned from his political party upon being elected as the Lok Sabha speaker. Getting my point? APJ Abdul Kalam का example दे सकते थे आप यहाँ पे. Where you're writing about corruption and the role of vigilance, because corruption के बारे में what did Kautilya say? That you cannot tell how much water a fish is consuming because it is constantly in water. Role of ED and CBI in it, right? So this is the perspective that I want to draw. You do not have to read the basics just for the sake of it. कि जब मुझसे directly कोई पूछेगा कि गांधी के ideas बताओ, तभी मैं बताऊंगा. ठीक है? Don't wait for that moment to get asked a certain question. वो सिर्फ एक ही question में आपको chance मिलेगा. That too, if everyone is asked, everyone will write it. The idea is to write it where you're not directly asked. Now, how to integrate current affairs? सबसे पहले, see, current affairs, you do not have to read any extra material for current affairs. Yes, I'll show you that as well. Don't worry. These are the first set of notes. मतलब जो basic class notes है. Value added notes are just 10-20 pages of just like value addition, current affairs जो भी है. How to and why to integrate current affairs. जो भी आप GS 1 to 3 में पढ़ रहे हो, my perspective is that अगर आप GS 1 to 3 में current affairs अच्छे से कर रहे हो, जो आप करोगे अगर आप मेंस लिख रहे हो तो, ठीक है? You do not need any extra material as such for current affairs integration. Why is that? Let me show you via these examples. First is we try to address everything in pestle approach. सबसे पहले हम जो भी पढ़ते हैं we try to write it in pestle approach कि political significance क्या है उसका, economic, at least in the examples when we're writing. जो हमने arguments build किए उसके साथ में जब हम examples build करेंगे we try to give one political example, give one social example, give one economic example. Go beyond that. Why am I saying that? See the nature of questions first. The application of artificial intelligence as a dependable source of input for administrative rational decision making is a debatable. So AI as a theme is being asked. Then keeping national security in mind, examine the ethical dilemmas related to environmental clearance of development projects, which means that they are no more asking you questions that are plain theory oriented in nature. वो apply करके पूछ रहे हैं. ये question क्यों आया? Because of the which project? Nicobar project, right? ऊपर वाला question, because of course AI is on the rise. Then they'll ask you, there was a case study on deep fakes, right? There will be more case studies in the future as such. Social media related case studies आपको आनी ही आनी है, right? Now, if you prepare your pestle breakdown में examples कि आपने एक political, एक social example prepare किया, how will you write an example to this question? Which is why we need that we go beyond this. And then comes your thesis approach. I'll show you the examples. इस पे कुछ prepare करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Be consciously aware of whatever you're reading in these subjects. For example, try this thesis. These are dimensions जो हम पढ़ते हैं GS में, but we keep on missing them. For example, T for technology, H for history and mythology. जैसे हम IR वाला question discuss कर रहे थे, तो we could have given some references from mythology. Then comes your environment and climate. S for internal security, I for international relations, and S for the schemes for different sections that we have, given the civil servant or governance oriented questions जो आ रहे हैं. Now I am not saying कि pestle के approach से आप लिखो ही मत answers. It is for some questions where pestle does not work, right? Let me give you some examples of this. And you tell me, is there any example out of the ones that I'm going to share right now? अगर आपको एक भी नहीं पता था क्या? Because you must have read all of this in the GS 1 to 3. Technology. First example. How many of you saw that Ghibli art? Everyone knows about that. What were the implications of that? That it was publishing sexualized photos of women in minors. The ability of AI to generate pictures based on that trend, the images, that data that people fed into it. Are you getting my point? All of us knew this, but we just forgot about this. और जब टेक्नोलॉजी या AI डिपेंडेबल सोर्स पे क्वेश्चन आएगा, we will not be able to think of this instantly. एथिक्स में कुछ नया पढ़ने की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है. Whatever you know, everything that I've discussed and taught in this class, 80% of the content you already know. It is just about brainstorming it right, thinking it right, drawing the correct interlinkages at the right time. Especially तब जब already time constraint चल रहा हो. उसी के लिए what we do is a lot of writing practice, right? This example, all of you knew about this, the Ghibli image and which led to the sexualized photos of people. Second is Grok praising Hitler, basically anti-Semitic views. It was famous in news for that. These are your technology के लिए examples. Now this is very interesting. मतलब for example chat GPT को if you ask I abused my friend, did I do wrong? वो बोलेगा नहीं, कुछ गलत नहीं किया. But you give it the prompt, my friend abused me, did it do wrong? It'll say yes. Tell them to start drawing boundaries from your friend, you know. So it is always manipulative like that. And this is not about just abusing. Give the biggest of crimes that you can think of. बोलेगा नहीं, गलती तो इंसान से होती है. In your favor. You are the one who's going to purchase the pro version after all, right? So that, and how manipulative it is. It will help you basically live with anything, any wrong that you're committing. हमें लगता है कि we are getting a free therapist in the name of ChatGPT, right? That is what we have to mention. Social media related. अब these AI rules के लिए what is the IT rules amendment क्या आया है अभी recently? Who will tell? Yes. कि अगर कुछ भी, for example, what is happening on social media right now, we are not able to differentiate कि क्या सच है क्या झूठ है. When those pictures of the PM and the जो ये melody pictures आए थे, we did not know if they were true because all of us instantly thought that these are AI generated. This can't be true. Modi ji can't be carrying a packet of melody for the. So basically, what happened was that we did not know what's true, what's fake. तो यहाँ पे not just that is the least of our concerns right now कि वो original थी कि नहीं थी, but there are a lot of deep fakes being generated जो हमें पता भी नहीं है कि this is artificial intelligence generated, right? For that we have rules that say that you need to flag basically क्या content synthetically originated content है. Getting my point? Why? To make the users more aware. For example, elections के time पे अगर कोई AI generated video आता है, it will form your opinion on that candidate, which is wrong, right? Which is why. Then MPs call for statutory social media ban for children to tackle addictive by design platforms. Reel after reel. What is that leading to? What are some of the keywords? Brain fog, brain rot, yes. The attention deficit that is creating, making it difficult for you to sit here for an hour. Yes. Australia also put a limit on like the social media usage के लिए age it has decided basically. So now that is what we all read these examples. All of us know these examples. But जब लिखने की बात आती है तब हम AI maybe we try to give it some basic points like transparency, accountability, impartiality. यहीं से difference create होता है. Somebody who is getting a great score in ethics and an average score is ethics, it does not mean कि आपकी understanding of ethics में बहुत gap है. It is the application aspect of how interesting can you make your answer, of how society related, of real world related your answer is. Right? That is what the focus of our course would be on. Then coming to environment. We read एक बहुत key theme है अभी that UPSC is focusing on, not just in the 10 markers but also in the case studies, is the environment versus development dilemma. क्यों है ऐसा? क्योंकि सब जो भी countries हैं, developing countries हैं, this is their prime problem. Should they work towards environment, climate change, or should they be focusing on their developmental imperatives, right? So that is what we read this. The Aravali issue, mining issue, and which has led to a lot of dust storms and heat in the city, right? The other is, we all guessed it, the question was there on this very theme, the Nicobar project. ठीक है कि security concerns या developmental concerns के चक्कर में should you be disturbing the environment of that, the pristine environment of the region? Are you getting my point? तो static questions हैं जहाँ पर आप बहुत सारी edge ला सकते हो. There are a lot of people that found the paper very difficult because they had questions related to social media. 5 questions civil servant related पूछ लिए, but you are not able to draw the nitty gritties. आप एक आंसर को differentiate करने के लिए you should have that understanding of what the examiner wants to know from me in this question. That should be our perspective in this entire course. ठीक है? Now, how to utilize this course the best? So firstly, we have concept classes. What is the purpose of these concept classes? It is not to start ethics from the very scratch, but it is कि हर topic पे आपको एक broad understanding ये develop हो जाए. You have a perspective on every keyword that the syllabus has. For example, emotional intelligence. What did I say? That it can be misused. At the end of the day, it is not a virtue, it is a skill. Okay? If I learn hacking as a skill, I can use it for better, altruistic hacking, for the good, or I can use it for ulterior means as well. तो ये डिफरेंशिएशन पता होना हर टॉपिक के बारे में, एक ओवरऑल आइडिया होना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. What is the contemporary relevance of that theme? In the notes also we've mentioned, and we'll also focus on that in the course, right? The next day of every concept class, you will have a PYQ based writing session. Yes. So we'll give you the notes a day in advance. Once you've read this, I am assuming, see, because we cannot take a pause in between, because you have to write mains. इसीलिए I am advising जो आपके base notes है, use them. On top of that, जो notes आपको मिलेंगे उससे सिर्फ value addition करना है, right? Now is not the time you start from the very scratch to read ethics. ठीक है, तो जो भी value addition आपको करना है, revision करना है, do that from your notes of one topic. The next day we will see कि किस क्वेश्चन में आपको क्या डायमेंशंस खोलने चाहिए थे, what are the subparts that you could have built, how to structure, how to draw a diagram, how to introduce, how to conclude, how to differentiate your answer from other people, right? Yes, definitely, we'll do that. Before every class, you'll get a handout, and on the basis of that, you have to come in the concept class. If you want to read, read and come, that is good. If you don't want to read and come, answer writing के पहले you should be reading your content, and that is the only effort for now जो आपको ethics में put in करना है. हर answer writing class के पहले अपना handout और अपने जो भी notes हैं उस topic के read and come, so that you are able to write answers. बिना content के कोई answer writing नहीं होती, ठीक है? Then is your one-to-one mentorship. Now every copy has some specific gaps, ठीक है? आप maybe you're writing some generic intros, maybe you're not able to think of the interlinkages, आप points बड़े lengthy लिख रहे हो, number of points, the demand of number of points has gone up. अगर आप कोई 2017-18 की कॉपी देखो और अगर आप कोई 2025 टॉपर की कॉपी देखो, there is a lot of difference. Forget writing in a paragraph format, at least in most of the questions. Code based questions में एक आध question में आप try कर सकते हो. Other than that, if you're writing in a paragraph based format, you will not be able to touch the variety of dimensions that you have to answer. Paragraph में what is the problem? That roughly, if I start the paragraph on a certain note, the same kind of idea, एक connectivity होनी चाहिए मेरे सारे lines में, and that kills your ability to dimension generate करने वाली जो ability है वो kill कर देगा, right? So we'll write in point based format. All these things we'll discuss in the answer writing session as well, in a very detailed manner. But right now in the one-to-one mentorship, the plan would be to give you what is the specific gap that your copy needs to address, and on that basis you keep on writing the other tests, right? That is the fundamental objective. I hope by now it is clear what are the resources that we are going to use, what is the broad methodology that we are going to follow for mains specifically. It is going to be completely practical oriented, application oriented. Current affairs का integration जो भी आप GS 1 to 3 में पढ़ रहे हो, we'll focus on largely applying those. कुछ अगर extra current affairs है which I want that you should be revising, कुछ keywords हैं that you should be revising, we'll have separate value addition classes for that towards the very end जब आप टेस्ट वगैरह सब लिख लोगे, because this is very secondary aspect. The primary aspect is जो knowledge आपको already है उसको apply कैसे करना है, and I think all of you must have realized this by now. Whatever was taught in this class you already knew, ठीक है? roles कौन है, क्या करते हैं, क्या theory दी है, you did not need to know. You only need to understand how do I better apply this in the syllabus, ठीक है? तो हर PYQ को we'll decode, we'll try to understand what are the kinds of aspects, dimensions और edge लेने वाली चीजें क्या है हर question में. So that would be the perspective. Anything that you would like to ask, you can ask right now. Yes, after every, so once you write, as soon as the session ends, after you're done writing, I will start discussing. So followed by that exact writing session, it's a live sort of discussion.
What would be there in the PYQ basically? So will they be PYQ or modified PYQ and how many questions?
See, in the test that you write, the half length and full length test जो आप लिखोगे, those will be proper original questions on the lines of PYQs. But why do I want कि जब आप brainstorm कर रहे हो with me and you're decoding the questions with me, they should be PYQs. Even if अगर आपने इसके पहले 2 बार भी सारे PYQs लिखे हैं ना ethics के, I would still advise you to write PYQs because it is very important to understand how to differentiate in those questions. See, no test series can match the level of questions that UPSC asks. Sometimes it gives you 5-liner questions. अब उसमें आपको 2 dimensions ढूंढने में time लग जाता है. Sometimes it give you a 1-liner basic definition oriented question. अब उस question में भी अगर आप differentiate नहीं कर पा रहे हो, then that is the problem, right? If it is asking me what is integrity, role of integrity in a public servant's life, right? How many of you can write this question? Role of integrity and importance in a civil servant's life. Every one of you, that is the problem. जो चीज सब लिख सकते हैं, सब बेसिक लिख सकते हैं, उसमें डिफरेंशिएट करना और डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है. Which is why I want that we write PYQs and then I'll give you some newer questions, applied ethics questions in the test series that you write, right? On the basis of which we'll have a lot of discussions.
These will be 1 hour session of writing and then followed by the discussion.
Of
the PYQ.
Yes, definitely. So पहले आप PYQs लिखोगे when the class starts. There are some 6-7 PYQs that you write, and in the class after that, I'll draw all these things to each question that we just discussed. इसमें arguments क्या थे, subparts क्या थे, type of introductions जो आप try कर सकते थे. कुछ questions ऐसे होते हैं जिसमें it demands कि आप एक current affairs based introduction pick करके लाओ, because it is telling you something about the current situation of society. In those questions, it is important that you start with some current affairs. We'll discuss all of these things. The idea is that सारे variety of जो questions है, for example, UPSC giving you BNS in GS4. How do you tackle that? Manrega related case study, very vague case study. Why did the scores drop this year? Because people were not able to differentiate one question from the other. अच्छे scores आए हैं, ऐसा नहीं है, they did not want to dip everyone's scores, but काफी selective लोग हैं, ठीक है? So that is the perspective that we have to keep in mind. I hope everything is clear with regards to the course. Yes. You can ask for the schedule after the class. There's a brochure that we provide you. You can get to that. See, जैसे अगर code based questions है, now judge your character, judge your success by what you had to give up in order to get it. वो सारे points ultimately meaning तो सबका एक ही रहेगा. It is only via the keywords that you use, it is only via the theoretical linkages that you draw कि आप एक point से दूसरे को differentiate कर पाओगे. Now in that case also I would not suggest कि आप सारे toppers copies follow करो. Okay, there are some people who write very average answers here, or maybe their copy in the final paper was very different. The kind of questions that came, they were able to hit it out of the park. There's a video that I've also prepared or made on the channel, Vajiram channel, toppers copy analysis करके है of ethics. You can go through that. There are some specific toppers that I've picked up and I've analyzed all their copies. यहाँ से this should be your idea of what you pick up from a topper's copy. So go through that, right? But broadly, if a topper is writing repetitive, try to find a better topper. ठीक है? हो सकता है, like सबके सारे answers अच्छे नहीं होते. Even somebody who has gotten 130 plus also, they will not be having great answers to all the questions, but to most of the questions. ठीक है? तो that focus should be there. Anything else that you want to ask? Case studies. You have 6 sessions on case studies. तो पहले हम डेडिकेटेडली पार्ट ए करेंगे, रीजन बीइंग कि इसी से डिराइव होकर आपकी केस स्टडीज आएंगी, यहीं से आपका कंटेंट आएगा केस स्टडीज के लिए. इन केस स्टडीज वी हैव प्रेजेंटेशन वगैरह के इश्यूज जो भी है, एथिकल इश्यूज कैसे डिराइव करने हैं, एथिकल डिलेमास कैसे डिराइव करने हैं, डिफरेंशिएट कैसे करना है केस स्टडीज में, हाउ टू एनालाइज ऑप्शन, सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. देयर आर डेडिकेटेड सेक्शंस, उसमें भी आप लिखोगे एंड वी विल देन हैव अ डिस्कशन आफ्टर आई एम डन विद द स्टैटिक क्लासेस. यस, एनीथिंग एल्स? Yes, I am the mentor as well. Don't worry. Okay? Done? Okay, so I think we'll end the session here. Thank you so much.